السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله على إحسانه وشكر له على تفضله وامتنانه، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله تعظيما لشأنه، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله داعي إلى رضوانه وعلى آله وأصحابه وإخوانه. أما بعد. أيها الأحبة, tonight inshallah we shall conclude the history of the Muslims in Sicily. Because it was not an easy lecture, we shall do it in summary, and we shall do it inshallah from beginning to the end. Ikhwani fillah, the events of the year 212 of the Hijri calendar. You can hear me clearly? In the year 212 of the Hijri calendar, a person from Sicily. Sicily is one of the autonomous regions of Italy. A person from this place, Sicily, Euphemius, it's called Euphemius. He comes all the way to Tunisia, to the leader of Tunisia at the time, Ziyadatullah ibn Ibrahim ibn Aghlab. And he says to him that the people of Sicily or the people of Byzantine have broken the peace agreement. Come and conquer Sicily, and I shall be one of your people. So he comes to the Muslims of Sicily and gives this presentation. He is the leader or the navy or the head of the navy of Sicily. Comes all the way from Sicily, and he says to the leader of Tunisia, the Christians or the Byzantines, they have broken the peace agreement. You signed a 10-year agreement with them, they have broken it, and they have Muslim prisoners in Sicily. So the leader Ziyadatullah ibn Ibrahim al-Aghlab presents this issue to the ulama. Amongst them the ulama are three major ulama at the time: Sihnun, Abu al-Mihriz, and another called Asad ibn al-Furat ibn Sinan rahmahullah. Memorize this name, Asad ibn Furat ibn Sinan, a man who was 70 years old and one of the greatest scholars in the entire Islamic world at the time, one of the scholars of both the madhab of Imam Malik and Imam Abu Hanifa. So they presented this issue. Two of the three scholars, they say we cannot break our peace agreement with Sicily based on the words of this Christian who might be not saying the truth. Euphemius might be speaking a lie. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu in ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in fatabayyanu. Oh, you have believed, if someone brings for you news, you should always confirm. And number two, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, Inna Allah la yuhibbul kha'inin. Allah does not love the people who betray. You have an agreement with the non-Muslims, with the enemies of Islam, you have to keep your part in that agreement. But Asad ibn Furat ibn Sinan, who was more educated and more knowledgeable than them, but not correct in this issue, he asserted and he was very firm, we must go and attack Sicily. So the leader Ziyadatullah ibn Ibrahim al-Aghlab, he tells him, Anta Amir, you shall be the leader of this expedition to conquer Sicily. Ikhwani fillah, Sicily is the largest island on the Mediterranean Sea. Whoever conquers Sicily, it is as if they have conquered the Mediterranean Ocean or Mediterranean Sea. You control Africa and Europe. This is the waterway that connects Africa and Europe. Whoever conquers Sicily has conquered a very strategic area for both Africa and Europe. So Asad ibn Furat rahimahullah is made the leader of the expedition of the Muslims to conquer Sicily. This is the year 212 of the Hijri calendar. He goes all the way to Sicily, and he conquers the first region of Sicily. The western region is called Mazzara. Sicily is divided into three regions. One region is called Mazzara towards the west. Another region towards the northeast is called Demono, and to the southeast is called Noto. So Mazzara, Demono, and Noto. So Asad ibn Furat comes all the way from Tunisia, which is in Africa, 163 kilometers he crosses the Mediterranean. He conquers a place called Pantelleria, a small island. Then he goes all the way to Sicily and conquers this first region of Mazzara. This region does not have a lot of people. Thereafter, Ikhwani fillah, as he's a scholar, he's not a person who is knowledgeable of war, he leaves this area of Mazzara and goes all the way to the east, to the most fortified city in Sicily. It is known as Syracuse. This is one of the most fortified, highly defended cities in the entire of Sicily. Whoever conquers Sicily, Ikhwani fillah, is easy for him to conquer Europe. It's easy for him to even reach Rome. The Prophet ﷺ says, "O Muslims, you shall conquer Rome." This is the closest the Muslims are coming to capture Rome, which is the seat of Catholicism. So he leaves Mazara and he goes all the way to the east, to Syracuse. And he besieges Syracuse. For 1 full year, he besieges Syracuse. The Muslims plead with him, we are not able to conquer this. We have not come with the equipment required to break down these fortifications, this defense. We are not able to break down this defense. Let us go back. Asad ibn Furat refuses completely. Short while later, there's a plague, a disease. It befalls the entire army. Many Muslims die, amongst them our hero, the scholar, Asad ibn Furat ibn Sinan. He passes away in the year 213 of the Hijri calendar. The new leader of the Muslims is called Abu Muhammad, or is called Muhammad ibn Abi Jawhar, if I'm not wrong, Muhammad ibn Abi Jawari. He talks over the leadership of the Muslims and tells the Muslims, let us retreat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed you, when you're fighting, you can go ahead, and sometimes you're allowed also to retreat. This is a tactic that is acceptable in war, depending on the circumstances. You cannot just be saying, no, our iman is great. Muslims are always going in front. They shall never. No. Prophet ﷺ, in his time, the Sahaba in the Battle of Mu'tah, they left the battlefield, or they retreated strategically because they were faced with a force of 100,000 versus 3,000. So Khalid ibn Walid, he went back. And the Sahaba were rebuking Khalid ibn Walid. Antum farrar, you are the ones who have run away. The Prophet ﷺ says, no, bal humul karrar. They are the ones who left and they shall come back. And they indeed came back and they conquered the entire of Syria and North Africa. So Khanifillah, it's allowed to retreat. So he takes his army and retreats back to Tunisia. He wants to retreat back to Tunisia. He goes back with his navy and he finds that the armies of, or the navy of Napoli and Byzantine have blocked his way to Tunisia. He has nothing to do. So he goes back to Sicily, he burns his ships, and he keeps himself in a place called Minau. The Muslims, very small in number, very weak, and they're not able to progress anywhere. This is a history of Muslims in Italy that is going to be here for another 300, 400 years. What happened in this period of Hanifillah? So the Muslims of Hanifillah, they tried conquering, they got assistance from Andalus. Alhamdulillah, by the year 216 of the Hijri calendar, after about 4 years, there was some relative stability. The only place they were owning or they are ruling the Muslims is this area of Mazara, Palermo, where is the capital city of the current capital city of Sicily. So Muslims, they start coming from all over the world to Sicily. They've had, this is fertile land, this is where you can farm. So Muslims come and they bring oranges, they bring lemons, they bring sugarcane, they bring new fruits and new things to grow in Sicily. And they grow and they start building a civilization. A new leader comes. He's called Ibrahim ibn Abdullah ibn al-Aghlab. Ibrahim ibn Abdullah ibn al-Aghlab. He rules the Muslims from the year 220 of the Hijri calendar to the year 236 of the Hijri calendar in this part, in Sicily. This man was a great man. He established order. The Muslims were very strong, they were very prosperous, and they flourished. But they were not able to conquer this entire island. Sicily is only 25,000 square kilometers. Ibrahim ibn Abdullah ibn Aghlab was only ruling Mazara, this one small province of Sicily. The Noto and the Mon was not ruled by the Muslims. It took them to conquer the entire of Sicily, 75 years. So from the year 212 of the Hijri calendar to the year 287 of the Hijri calendar, the Muslims had not conquered Sicily full. They took 75 years until the year 287 of the Hijri calendar to conquer this island that's only 25,000 square kilometers. If you look at, for example, Spain, Andalus, the Muslims took only 2.5 or 3.5 years to conquer the entire of Andalus, which is 600,000 square kilometers. They took 2 years to conquer Egypt, which is 1 million square kilometers. But they took 75 years to conquer only 25,000 square kilometers, which is Sicily. Why? Because of the mistake that was made in the beginning. It was not founded on taqwa or the proper Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna Allah jamilun yuhibbul jamal. If you're doing something, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants it to be beautified, wants to be done the correct way and in the correct manner. So this is the first period of Andalus, of Sicily, the period of conquest, relatively from 212 to 216 or 212 to 287. The first Asad ibn Furat was the first conqueror. Then the Aghaliba, the family of the Aghalibs, until 287 of the Hijri calendar. Then they managed to conquer it. Then they ruled only for 10 years in stability. The whole of Sicily was under the Muslims, and some towns in southern Italy, like Bari and other towns of southern Italy, were under the Muslims. So Muslims reached as far as Italy. 287 to 297 they ruled. In the year 296, something unfortunate happened in the Islamic world. A great calamity also happened. The Ismailis, they took over Morocco. The Ismailis, the Shias, the Ubaidiyah, a sect from the Shia, they took over North Africa. And they spread the heresy. And they started killing the ulama and the salihun. And they brought a lot of innovations and heresy to the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. Some of them were claiming to be gods. Some of them were claiming to be prophets. They are the first people who tried to steal the body of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam from his grave in Medina. These were evil people that brought a lot of problems for us in our society. So they conquered North Africa and they overthrew the Aghaliba in Tunisia. The Dawla al-Aghaliba, it fell in the year 296 in Morocco, Tunisia, this area of the world, it fell. And the new leaders were the Dawla Ubaidiyah, the Fatimids, the ones who call themselves the Fatimids. They're claiming to be part of the family of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but the Prophet alayhi salam is free from them, for they are an evil sect, but they are a disbelieving sect. So they are the ones who took rule of Sicily from the year 297 of the Hijri calendar until the year 336 of the Hijri calendar. 39 years of massacring Muslims and torturing everyone in the society of Sicily, be they Muslims, Christians or Jews. Sicily had people from every part of the world. They had Italians, you had Greek people, you had Muslims, you had Persians, you had Africans. Everyone was in Sicily at the time. But this of Dawla al-Fatimiyya, they come, they oppress everyone, and they enforce their innovations. And you pray Tarawih, you're killed. You found it Sahih Bukhari, you're killed. Your name is Abu Bakr, Umar, Aisha, you're killed. Flimsy reasons, you're killed. You read the Quran in a particular manner. So many things they brought in the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. La'natullah alayhim. So they ruled until they were expelled by Hassan al-Kalbi, who became the new leader of the Muslims in Sicily in the year 336 of the Hijri calendar. He led the Muslims he and his family led the Muslims in Sicily for 100 years. From the year 336 of the Hijri calendar up to the year 436 of the Hijri calendar, this family of the Kalbis were the ones who were leading the Muslims in Sicily. Sorry, I'm summarizing very quickly the history. Then, as usual with Muslims, in the history there was always fights. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا فَتَفْشَلُوا وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ. Do not differ. وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا فَتَفْشَلُوا. You shall indeed fail. وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ. And your strength will go. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاعْتَسِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold fast to the rope of Allah Azza wa Jal and do not differ. Whenever it comes, we were speaking in the Andalus series, and we repeat again, whenever the Muslims, you focus on yourselves and you fight amongst yourselves, all of you will lose. Someone else will come in the middle and will take over. This happened in Andalus, and this is also happening in Sicily. This same period in Andalus, Andalus was divided into 22 states, the Ta'ifa states. Also Sicily in this same period was divided into 3 to 4 states. This small land, 4 states, Muslims, everyone is declaring himself, I am the leader, I am the truthful leader. Brother fighting brother. And when they fight, what do? They go seek assistance from the Nasara. They go seek help from the Christians to fight their own Muslim brothers. Not Muslim brothers only in faith, Muslim brothers in faith and in blood. They are from the same father or the same, maybe different mother, but the same father. Sometimes even brother, full brother, father and sister, father and mother. Same mother, same father, they fight. So, 336 of the Hijri, 436 of the Hijri calendar to the 484 of the Hijri calendar, this is a period known in the history of Sicily as the Ta'ifa states. The Muslims were divided into groups. Then 484 of the Hijri calendar came, and Sicily fell. We lost Sicily. So we ruled Sicily from the year 212 of the Hijri calendar to the year 484 of the Hijri calendar, a period of prosperity, of power and strength for the Muslims. And that history is still visible today. When you visit Sicily, you shall see the remnants or the remains of what the Muslims left in Sicily. What happened in the year 484 of the Hijri calendar? The French. It's always the French. We lost Muslim Spain and Portugal to the French. We lost Jerusalem, Al-Quds, because of Pope Urban Clement in France. Also Sicily, we lost it because of France. There's a northern province in, is it northern or southern? Northern province of France, it's called Normandy. Normandy at this time became very powerful. Normandy was Vikings who had accepted Christianity from the time of Rollo, at the time of King Charles III. He accepted Christianity. He left the Vikings, betrayed the Vikings, and became a Christian and settled in France. So if his family started ruling France. One part of his family, went and conquered England, and England till today is under that family, the Nomar family. William the Conqueror, in the year 1066 of the Christian calendar, in the Battle of Hastings, he conquered England. Another part, Roger I, he comes and he conquers Sicily because of betrayal of Muslims, that the Muslims thought that this man came to assist them, but they ended up taking all the land for the Muslims. So the Muslims were in rulership from the year 212 of the Hijri calendar to the year 484 of the Hijri calendar. Then they stayed for a while, then what happened? The same thing that happened in Andalus, the Inquisition we talked about in Andalus. They were forced, option one, accept Christianity or die. Accept Christianity or die. Some of them, they pretended to be Christians. Some of them accepted Christianity. Some of them ran for their lives and they were expelled from Sicily. Sicily had Muslims, Christians and Jews. For those 300 years or so that we were ruling, we lived Muslims, Christians and Jews. We did not expel any Christian, we did not expel any Jew. Some of them accepted Islam, some of them did not. They had their own laws, they remained upon their land, and no one persecuted them. But when they took over, they removed all presence of Islam. That all, or 99% of Muslims do not even know today that we Muslims built a great civilization in Italy, in Sicily. Who knew about Sicily before? We didn't know about this. Why? Because they erased our entire history. The same thing they want to do with Gaza right now and Palestine, to remove everyone and put people who have come from Ukraine and Poland and Lithuania and Russia, people who don't even know the area of the world. They're saying this is, we are God's children. 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, this was our land. People from Ukraine are coming to claim Palestine as their land. And they expel the people of Palestine, so they take over. It's the same thing they did in Sicily, the same thing they did in Spain, expel the Muslims, erase their history and their presence, so they are entirely forgotten, and the people think that this is not their land anymore, but this is our land. Right, together. If you look at history, and I repeat every time again, there's a lot of propaganda in the media and the Western audience, whereby they say that Muslims are not tolerant, that Muslims or Islam is an intolerant faith. But let us look at reality on the ground. Islam came after Christianity, 600 years after Christianity. Are you together? We found Christians in Iraq. We found them in Syria. We found them in Egypt. We found them in North Africa. Are those Christians that go back to those dates still present till today? Yes. There are over 10 million or 15 million Christians who are Arabs. Even in Palestine, you see churches in Gaza, in West Bank, in Beit Laham, in Bethlehem, till today, Christians who had families before Islam. So we lived with these Christians. Do you find Jews in the Islamic world? There are Jews right now, even till today, in Yemen, maybe very few, but they are there. You find Jews in Iran. You find Jews in Tunisia, in Morocco. When they're expelled by the English, when they're expelled in Spain and Portugal during the Inquisition, why did they run to? They ran to the Muslim world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us, La ikraha fi din. We do not force anyone upon our faith. If you're not going to fight us, if you're not going to take our lands, then you can freely live amongst us. You do your ibadah and your worship as you please. Just do not cause for us any fasad. Do not bring enmity to your land. This is the history of Muslim Sicily from the year 212 of the Hijri calendar, when it was conquered by Asad ibn al-Furat ibn Sinan, all the way to the year 484 of the Hijri calendar, when we lost it for all of eternity. So, Ikhwani fillah, we ruled Sicily, we ruled Cyprus, we ruled Crete, Malta, southern France, Spain, Portugal. You're aware of all these areas, but they are no longer areas of Muslims, because the Muslims were either forcefully converted, massacred, enslaved, or expelled from these lands. Ikhwani fillah, this is a short summary of the history of the Muslims in Sicily. We shall continue with our remaining lectures with regards to the scholars of Andalus. Thereafter we shall enter other topics. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.